ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it's a great honor for us in our Institute of Global Ethics to have you all here. I am especially pleased to hear that many from America are here. I remember the American Archbishop at the Second Vatican Council, who I asked my good friend John Colton Murray, a Jesuit from New York, what do you think about this man? He said, well, the Archbishop is a very, very honest man. He will never lie if it was not to the sake of the Church. And I think that is sometimes, you can apply it easily also to business. They would never lie if it would not be to the sake of the Church, for the sake of business. Your topic is very important and very up-to-date today. The news that you can see here again, a picture, front page, on the Limburger Dom, addressed to the bishop also, and it could also be addressed to a businessman. Du sollst nicht stehlen. Big, illuminated, I leave it here to you. So, I think we have here to speak about very elementary things, which have to apply, of course, to business in a delicate way. But I think it's not surprising that more and more people realize that also the struggle for integrity, the struggle against corruption, has to do with common ethical values. Some of you may tell me the struggle against corruption requires all provisions of the law, especially the laws are important. Well, I would agree perfectly. The laws are absolutely necessary, but they are not enough. As you know, the political will to fight corruption is often weak because it is not supported by an ethical will. Laws without morality cannot endure, and no legal provision against corruption can be implemented without moral consciousness based on elementary ethical standards. This is not just an issue of individual morality, but also of corporate morality, and concerns the global market as a whole, the global market economy as a whole. We strongly believe that in the long run, the global market economy will only be accepted if it is socially acceptable. After all, in a democratic society, the majority of the electorate has to be repeatedly convinced that a strong ethical framework supports both the operation and effects of the global markets and the extra market institutions. Fair commercial exchange and cooperation will only achieve sustainable societal goals when people's activities to realize their legitimate private interests and prosperity are embedded in a framework today, in a global ethical framework that ensures broad acceptance. Such an agreement on globally accepted norms for economic actions and decisions, in short, for an ethic of doing business, or a global economic ethic, is still in its infancy. Integrity, as we know, of course, every word can be understood and every term defined in different ways. We should therefore not be surprised that morally lauded terms like integrity may have various meanings depending on the cultural context in which they are used. It is generally known that the word integrity stems from the Latin tangere, to touch. The Latin integer means untouched, unscathed, respectable, unharmed, whole. Integrity can therefore be interpreted as being free from moral or ethical misdemeanors and being respectable and incorruptible. However, I heard sometimes in America that they tend to interpret the term integrity in a more narrow sense, keeping to given laws, rather than interpreting it in the wider Latin sense. How can this difficulty be resolved? If you come from different continents, let me offer two suggestions. First, it is not necessary to use such terms formally, but rather to fill them with meaning. In many European languages, the meaning of the word integrity extends to being incorruptible, honest, and truthful, and to have a general agreement on the words and action spoken or written. Second, it will be possible to interpret even a single expression like integrity unambiguously if it is not used in an absolute sense, in an absolute manner, but with respect to specific situations like this picture on the paper. Everybody understands immediately what is meant because it's a specific situation which I not see. If people are demanded of integrity in the face of a particular event of corruption, it will be obvious in Europe as well as in America and Asia what integrity means. In this way, such terms can and do express something like a bundle of elementary ethical values and standards of core ethics. Nevertheless, abstract terms cannot suffice in the formulation of an operational global ethic. Rather, the ethical values and standards have to be filled with meaning. But I think it's important, and I hope you will not do it, to look for new values and to try to invent now your own values. I think you have not to invent the wheel of ethics again. These standards have been developed in the thousands of years in the history of humanity. I think Darwin was right. The human being comes out from the animal world, and we had to learn to be human. Many thousand years we have to learn to be human, but it's not to kill innocent people, etc., not to steal, etc. That is found in the process of the evolution. But only ethic means a common fundamental vision of what is legitimate, just, and fair, relies therefore on moral principles and values that from time immemorial have been shared by all cultures and have been supported by common practical experience. A lot of what is proclaimed in God's commanded in the Hebrew Bible, in the New Testament, or in the Quran, can also be found in the religions and philosophies of Indian and Chinese origin, and also in humanistic philosophies, many are rooted in no religion, but just a humanistic approach. So I think the humanistic ethical network involves both believers and unbelievers, as our institute is also working with believers and unbelievers. But for believers and unbelievers, it is important what the founders of the world's religions in Chicago decided 20 years ago, September 1993, identified. And this will support the humanistic network. Two basic values underlie all other values first, humanity, Chinese Ren, and second, reciprocity. Two, the principle of humanity means that every human being, man or woman, white or colored, rich or poor, young or old, every human being must be treated humanely and not bestially. The principle of humanity is associated with the principle of reciprocity inside the child. The golden rule, the famous golden rule, we found already in the Analects of Confucius, what is an indication that global ethic is not a Western invention. We can find the elements of global ethic in every great tradition. We find the same golden rule, this principle of reciprocity, also in biblical, Islamic, and other traditions. What you do not wish done to yourself, do not do to the others. That's a principle which has to be applied not only between individuals, but also between groups, and also between ethnic groups, national groups, and of course also in business. I'm not going to go into the detail, this has to be discussed in big sense, it is applied. But I think it's more important to know that on these two bases, two fundamental principles, humanity and reciprocity, you can find already in the writings of Patanjali, the founder of yoga, but also in the Buddhist canon, and in all major tradition, the following core values and standards. And all this also needed in the development of the evolution of the human race. First, the ancient directive, do not kill innocent people. Today, we would say, to translate into our situation, a commitment to a culture of non-violence and respect for life, a culture of non-violence and respect for life. Second, do not steal. That means today a commitment to a culture of tolerance and a life of truthfulness. Do not steal, a commitment to a culture of solidarity and a just economic order. Third, do not lie, a commitment to a culture of tolerance and a life of truthfulness. And finally, do not abuse sexuality, a commitment to a culture of equal rights between men and women. You see, these two fundamental principles of humanity and reciprocity and these four ethical standards as formulated and explained in the World Ethics Declaration of the Parliaments of the World Religion, of the World Religions, were applied with the word of global business in a manifesto on global economic ethic. It was drafted here in Tübingen before the foundation of the Institute by a working group of business leaders, experts in economic ethics, and experts in economic ethics, convened by the World Ethics Foundation. On October 2009, it was presented to the public, the symposium at the UN headquarters in New York, under the joint sponsorship of the UN Global Compact Office, the Swiss Permanent Mission to the United Nations, and the Martin Foundation for Sustainable Development. And I think, in order not to go on too long, I will just quote 2 paragraphs of this declaration. I hope it will then be distributed to everybody, this small declaration. It has exactly the same structure as the declaration for the World Ethics of the Parliament of the World Religions. And we have here also the basic values. If I quote from the chapter on the basic values of justice and solidarity, Article 8, you can look here how it sounds. It's of course a text of a manifesto, and it's a very sober text. It's reads like this. The pursuit of profit is the presupposition for competitiveness. It is the presupposition for the survival of business enterprises and for their social and cultural engagement. Corruption inhibits the public welfare, damaging the economy and the people because it systematically leads to false allocation and waste of resources. The suppression and abolition of corrupt and dishonest practices such as bribery, collusion agreements, patent piracy, and industrial espionage demands preventive engagement, which is a duty incumbent on all those active in the economy. Today we will probably say also for the government, after all the new experiences we have with this field. That is Article 8. From the chapter on the basic values of honesty and tolerance, I quote Article 10. Truthfulness, honesty, and reliability are essential values for a sustainable economic relationship that promote general human well-being. They are prerequisites for creating trust between human beings, and for promoting fair economic competition. On the other hand, it is also imperative to protect the basic human rights of privacy and of personal and professional confidentiality. Well, all this can be discussed, and I will do it. I have to stop here. You will hear the keynote address.